We're here with Rosemary Braun on March 8th, 2008, and she's going to tell us about the first birth of our daughter, Michelle.
Well, Doug and I were married in 1989, and we'd always wanted kids, so that wasn't a question. And we just decided we were going to wait a few years before we tried to have kids. So then, 2 years later, we started trying to have kids, and it just wasn't working. So we went to see a doctor, and we went to a clinic, and it took us 6 years. And then we finally found out that we were going to have a baby. And the way that happened was we'd gone to the clinic, and for some reason we didn't think we were pregnant that month. And the nurse had said, well, just come in for a blood test anyway. And so I went in one day, and then I went back to work, and she called me at work that day. I wasn't expecting it. And she said, you're pregnant. And I was really shocked. And I remember going to the bathroom at work and jumping around a bit and trying to just get over my excitement before I went back to my desk. And then when I got back to my desk, the first person I wanted to tell was Doug, but I didn't know how to tell him because if I called, I worked in an area where there was cubicles, and so everyone around me would hear what I was saying. And so I thought, well, how do I tell him? And I thought, well, I can't until I get home. So I had to wait the rest of the day to tell him. And then when on my way home, I got a card that said something about your life is going to change and we're having a baby. And then when he came home, I gave it to him. He was shocked too because he also thought we weren't pregnant that month, and he didn't expect the blood test that day. So anyways, when he figured it out, we were both so excited. And then I think we waited a few weeks or months, maybe just a few weeks. We told our parents, and then we told other people when we were 3 months pregnant. And I had a great pregnancy, and I saw your little heartbeat, the little heartbeat at I think 5 or 6 weeks, and we saw the ultrasound at 20 weeks, where you could see the fingers and the toes, and it was all so exciting. And the whole pregnancy went really well. There was no problems at all. And Michelle was due on April 1st. And so I was working at Manulife at that time, and I was working on a year-end project that was really busy, but I didn't care. I worked lots of hours, but I was just so excited to be expecting that it didn't matter. And the project kind of wound down a little bit early, so I took 2 weeks off before April 1st to get stuff ready at home, and got the house cleaned up, and I waited and we waited and we waited, and no baby. And April 1st came and no baby. And then I think on Good Friday, which was like the April 11th or something, we went in for a stress test, and everything was fine with the baby. And we were going to be induced on the 14th of April, I think. But then on Easter Sunday, I woke up with some labor pains. And so I woke Doug up, and he started timing the contractions. And they were about 8 or 9 minutes apart. And they weren't that strong. But we stayed up all night, and we waited, and they didn't get any stronger. And then we waited the whole day, and I think we went for a walk outside, and we were waiting and waiting. And then finally around 11 o'clock, we decided, this is silly, we'll just go to bed. And we went to bed, and that's when the contractions started really strong. And they were coming quicker. And so then around 2 in the morning, we went in the hospital. And they said I wasn't that far along yet. And they said I could stay overnight. But Doug couldn't stay overnight because they didn't have a single room. And so he couldn't even, so I'd be with somebody else in the room. And so he couldn't stay in the room with me. So Doug went home for the night, and I stayed in the hospital. And the next morning, the contractions were even stronger. And they took me to the delivery room, and I called Doug from there, and he came in, and the contractions continued. And we had a really nice labor nurse called Sylvia Braun.
Yeah, I remember.
She was a midwife from England, and she was so calm and just so comforting. And she took us through it, and I remember her calling our doctor, Dr. Potts, saying, you better get over here because this baby's going to be born in 10 or 15 minutes or something. And I don't think he believed her. And so she had to go to the hallway and find a resident doctor who came in and delivered Michelle. And then I remember Dr. Potts walking in a few minutes later going, what's happened here? It was like, well, the baby was born. And Sylvia said, yeah, I told you she was coming. And it was a little girl, and she was 8 pounds, 5 ounces. And we named her Michelle Anna Braun. And we named her Michelle because we both liked the name. And we named her Anna because my grandma Anna Harder, and my middle name is Ann. And my other grandma is Anjanita, which is a similar form. And I have an Aunt Ann, so Ann seems to run in our family. So we liked Anna, and it flowed with Michelle Anna Braun. And she was born at 1:57 p.m. on April 13th. And she was the most beautiful baby we'd ever seen. And they let us have some time in the room, just the three of us, and we got to call the grandparents and a few other people. And then they took us to our room, and at that time we only had 24 hours in the hospital, so after 24 hours, three of us packed up and we went home. And the first night she didn't sleep hardly at all, and we were up with her all night. And then after the first night we realized we couldn't both be up with her all night, so we took turns. And after a few days, after a few weeks, I think by 8 weeks, she was sleeping through the night, 7 to 8 hours. It was great. And she was a happy little baby, and we had such fun with her. And every month I would make a cake or something to celebrate her month anniversary. And each month I remember thinking, it doesn't get any better than this. And the next month I think, this is better than the month before. And we had a great first year with her. And she's still our sweet little baby girl, and we love her so much. I think that's the story of Michelle's birth.
Great, thank you.